sit down.
Welcome to Stu and the Nunn, an online radio show and podcast focused on national security, policy, politics, and selfless service. We're here to give you an honest opinion, a different perspective, and hopefully a few laughs. We do this by not only interviewing guests, but also sharing our own perspectives and asking you, the listener, to interact with us on the show chat room, via our Facebook page, and on Twitter. We would like to thank those who make this show possible and allow us to bring it to you. Our show sponsors: Warrior Media Solutions, BlueHammer.com, Mighty Oaks Warrior Foundation, Graybeard Publishing, and of course, Sheepdog Response. We would also like to recognize some of our favorite nonprofit charities who are doing great things for those who have served this country of ours. Veterans Outdoors, Mighty Oaks Warrior Foundation, PinupsForVets.com, and the Lauren F. Bruner USS Arizona Memorial Foundation. To learn more about these nonprofits and how you can donate to their awesome causes, visit our website at www.stuandthenunn.com.
Shut up and sit down.
All right, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Stu and the Nunn. Let me bring over our video. There we go. That looks a little bit better. And welcome. This is Stu, my good buddy Toby Nunn, to the show. Hey, Toby, how you doing?
Oh, living the dream, brother. Super excited to be on tonight.
Yep, absolutely. If I quit clicking the wrong buttons and we keep our video up, there we go. Yeah. Very on this August 15th. Can you believe it, man? Half through August already.
It happens so fast. Like you wake up one morning and it's like the future and the past at the same time.
I was in a store the other day, one of those big box warehouse kind of stores. Not going to mention the name, but it rhymes with hams, and they had Christmas wrap and Christmas tree ornament decorations out for sale already. Isn't it a tad too early? Isn't it just a bit too early?
Yeah, that's a little strong.
Yeah.
I don't understand why you gotta with all the great holidays between now and Christmas. While Christmas is a great thing, there's nothing better than, celebrating the birth of our Lord and Savior. There's some pretty cool celebratory things in the next 6 months that, warrant, being displayed.
Yeah. I think let's some of the others, man. Let's get through Labor Day, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Columbus Day. So many things to celebrate.
Yeah, I got to tell you, like Labor Day, it used to be like when school started. Like school started after the Labor Day weekend. And that was like the end of your summer. Now like school's already in session. Kids are going to school.
Is that down south, right? Not up here, but I'm assuming down south.
Yeah. So it's it is what it is, man. The summer seems to go faster.
Yep, I hear you. Well, kids are busy, and we stay busy, and people get vacations and this kind of stuff, and everything just flies right back by for sure. But hey, yeah, good to be here with you, and excited for a great show tonight. A lot of stuff going on. We got a little bit of time before our guest shows up, so I know we have a little bit of time before we have to get going on that, but. So we got a lot of things to talk about. Anything you want to cover before we get into any of that, or do you want to kind of talk about our guest now, or talk about her in a little bit?
No, we got a little bit of time before she comes on, so let's kind of get through some stuff. North Korea has just been an interesting 2 weeks, and it looks like, well, some people are going to call me stupid, but what do I know? I only lived in that country for a couple of years. Trump's tough talk seems to be off. I know some people are like, oh, well, we're going to wait on, what the U.S. does. Like, oh, so we called your bluff. Like, hey, so you're not going to attack Guam. Didn't think so. Like, he needed that out. You can rattle sabers and you can like, act like you're gonna play with the big boys, but when you realize like you're about to get stomped, so pretty excited about that. Although I don't think we're anywhere near the end of talking about North Korea. I don't think we're anywhere near the end of that. But I think the verbal assault that we got and the threats of Guam were idle as suspected. America's on fire though at home. Like we don't need to go to North Korea to watch things go nuclear. Oh, hold on, let me answer the door. My dog wants in.
No problem. And while you do that, we will transition to me. But you're right. We don't need to go far, or we don't have to go far to find drama and everything going on. Of course, the big news the last few days, only because the mainstream media wants it to be the big news, is Charlottesville, West Virginia. That is the talking points that everyone wants to push, and not so much what's happened down there, which is really kind of a sad testament to everything. It's not so much what happened there, but because the media's obsession with our president, it's about what he says or doesn't say, or does he condemn enough, or does he not condemn enough? And that's what it's about. I mean, a young lady was killed crossing a street. I don't know all the details yet. I don't know if you've heard them. I don't know if she was part of either thing or she was just walking through. I when I heard about that, I thought of when I was in DC the day after the inauguration, and the thousands of angry vagina pink hat wearing women who just had nothing but hate and anger up in them were marching through the streets. My family and I were crossing streets and walking on. We were just in DC, so I don't even know if this lady was part of it or not. But it's not so much that she was, her life was taken, and who knows how many dozens of people close to her family and friends were affected. But did the president condemn the right way or not the right way? And it's just a sad testament to, you look at the dozens of people killed every weekend in Chicago. The president condemned that, and no one cares. No one mentions it. You look at when two people walk into a Christmas dinner in California, a Christmas lunch, and do stuff. They don't condemn that. It's just sad, dude. I wish they would just freaking report the news. And then of course every CEO that wants to make a name for his company that's on on a presidential council has to resign, so he gets all the attention on him, and he makes sure that every news outlet calls on him so they can get his soundbite, and just caters and gets his company's name up there, because you know what, there's no such bad thing as bad PR, I guess, right? You got some crazy stuff. You got an earthquake going on in Texas or what?
Yeah, you would not believe what's going down on my pad right now. Well, so Trump came out this afternoon and had a really good press conference at Trump Tower in New York, and he was asked about the CEOs of majors leaving his CEO panel or whatever conglomerate as a result of this, and he had a really interesting response. One, like he's up there to talk about the issues that are important at the time and not distractions. He wants to talk about issues and not distractions. He made that clear. He mentioned the CEOs that left, one being Merck. He talked about how they left out of embarrassment because he'd been beating his drum at them for not producing products in America. For outsourcing products, and he told them that if they wanted to be part of this, conglomerate or whatever it was, this panel, this council, CEO council, that their products needed and their company needed to do the majority of its business within the United States. Mm-hmm. And and he's like wants jobs in the U.S. He wants manufacturing in the United States. He also addressed the comment from Walmart, and and he called it what it was. He's like, it's political grandstanding.
Yeah.
He stood by, absolutely stood by, and when he said it, he kind of took the wind out of a lot of media sails, because his statement was very simply, he wanted to wait till he had accurate information, and I gotta commend him on this, because too quickly are people reactively making accusations and statements on a lot of things. We saw it in some of these, violent situations with the police. We saw it with attacks in San Bernardino. We saw it in all these different things, these violent attacks. People are quick. The media seem to be more concerned with who's saying something first than who's saying something right and accurately. And he kind of called people out on it. He called the media directly out on it and said, I took my time, not because I have any position one way or another. I took my time because I wanted to have the facts. And what comes out of this office and what comes out of my mouth better be correct and better be accurate. And he's absolutely right.
Yeah, I mean, he's learned from the mistakes of the past president, right? That would say, condemn somebody and have a beer summit, and that guy looks like he'd be my son, and the hands up don't show. All these false narratives that the past president would jump on. It's like he learned from that lesson and stood back and said, let's see what's happening. Looks like a lot of hate. Some people showed up with bottles of pee and clubs and bats. You don't really show up meaning to be peaceful if you don't just randomly whip those things out unless you meant to do some kind of harm. That's why I think he said all sides, and I totally support his saying there's a lot of hate on all sides. Yeah. Right? Those KKK waving, racist bastards are despicable. I get it. But so is Black Lives Matter, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, they're equally racist. The president called out the driver of the car, the young man that allegedly couldn't make Army basic training he called him out as a murderer. Because this guy is not, someone to be celebrated. He said he didn't know some of the people that were in attendance there. Let's keep it real. Just because he's the president of the United States, does he have, tracking devices on everybody, and he's got a member of his staff saying so-and-so's in this crowd? Does he know where Toby Nunn is at this moment? Probably not. I'd like to think that, I'm popular enough that people care where I'm at, but in reality, he said exactly what the media were asking him to say, in the sense that he absolutely condoned and condemned. He absolutely condemned the neo-Nazis that were in attendance, and he also condemned the violence from the other side, and called it out for what it was. And his original statement, he stood by it. He kind of doubled down and said, if you think that this was one-sided, you're wrong. And the facts, that he mentioned, and he said, this isn't about opinion. This isn't about fake news. This is about facts. This other group were there with the intent on being violent. They instigated violence. They didn't have permits to be there. They were large in numbers. He absolutely condemned all this stuff, but he also went on to talk about the taking down of statues and said, today's Robert E. Lee, tomorrow is it George Washington? Are we going to take down statues of George Washington because he, during his time span, had servants and slaves? Thomas Jefferson, are we going to take down his, statues, his memorials and stuff like that? Where do you draw the line? This slippery slope. We understand, let's protect, our feelings, but let's also not forget that this is our history. It can't be changed.
Well, our good friend Uncle Jimbo put up a good post earlier where he talked about how when World War II ended, the Germans left up Dachau as a reminder to all to never let that happen again. As one of the darkest parts of Germany's history, so people would never forget how bad and how brutal they were. And it's almost like you erase that you try to erase that past and act like it never happened, let a generation or two go by, you know, people will just act like we never had racism, never had that. You know, if people look at those statues as a reminder of that, not saying the statues are a representation of that, but I mean, if you just act like it never was there, kind of like the Taliban were in Afghanistan, where they tried to erase, you know, blow up, you know, these hundreds of whatever they were, thousands of year old Buddha statues and every other sign of any faith other than theirs. You know, it's not like it never happened, but what do you do when you know, how do you try to erase history? It is what it is, I guess.
Yeah. So, like, speaking of history, we have an amazing guest on tonight, and this young woman is making history, constantly making history. I've always been proud of the fact that we've kind of known her. You know, like, you know, she's been within the circle of cool guys for a bit, and
she makes us cooler. She makes us cooler. I gotta say.
She does. She absolutely does, and she's really blazed the trail for a lot of folks, and brought, you know, and done some really impressive things. We're super excited for her to be on. She does not typically do interviews. It's been quite some time since she's done some, so we're tremendously honored that she could join us tonight. Her name is Genevieve Chase. Some know her as Eve, but a lot of people know her as Sergeant First Class, soon to be Master Sergeant and Senior Drill Sergeant. So super excited for her to be on the show. Welcome to the show, Sergeant Chase.
Yeah, I don't have her on yet. We're getting there. Yeah, I didn't realize you were ready to spin her in that quick. I'm doing some.
I thought you were ready.
No,
so,
I am
together,
right there, but I am
I'd
gonna
like to take this opportunity to talk about how Bush League we can be.
We can be Bush League, dude. Let me tell you, it is. If we weren't, people would think something's wrong. They would think we've gotten too big for our britches. If we just start, you know, going with whatever here. Okay, hold on. Oh my Lord. Let me try it again. Yeah, if we ever do this smooth, people are gonna like. They must have sold out to the man.
Yeah, with our social media witchcraft that's going on.
Yes.
All
right, I'm bringing her in now. All right, now we got a whole bunch of. I got to do all kind of editing here. Okay, hold on. Let me bring her in. Okay, boom. There's stuff going on here. Okay, I see her. All right, hold on, Eve. Okay. Man, I'm telling you, Eve, can we hear you?
I can see y'all.
Okay.
All right.
I heard y'all. We know she's here. She dropped a y'all on us. I'm gonna do it. Let me transition you over, and then I'm gonna work on fixing this video, because when we bring someone else in, it always messes up. Toby, I'll let you welcome Eve in as I fix our video, and our viewers can see her whole face there.
Turn on a light.
So Eve, welcome to the show. Even though it's, you know, a Bush League entrance, we really appreciate you taking the time tonight. We know you had a very important meeting right before. Just returned from the great white wilderness known as Russia and some big mountains. You haven't been back in the States but a couple of days, so we really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to come and visit with us. So welcome back to the U.S., first and foremost.
Thanks. Good to be back.
Yeah, good to see you too. It's been a long time.
And the show, like I know it's been years, like 8 years or something.
It's been a long time.
There we go. I got you all set up on video. Now our viewers can see you and not see the bottom half of your face and the top half of Toby's dome. Now it's all Eve.
I can turn on some lights if you need me to.
No, you look fine. You look fine. Are you back home now? Are you?
I am back home. Yay!
Awesome. Well, as Toby said, you've been all over. You've been doing all kind of great things. Your most recent was just returning from Russia. And I don't think you were collaborating or coordinating deals with any political parties in the Russians. I think you were there on a totally non-political basis. And I don't know if you saw the president of Russia climbing mountains bare-shirted or not, but I'm sure you saw and did a lot. And we're looking forward to hearing about not only why you went there, but how the whole experience was.
Well, I did not see him out there, Mr. Putin, but I did see him shirtless with a fish on the front of the local paper while we were there. So I guess he likes to fish. So me and the president of Russia have something in common. We both like to fish.
There we go.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a pretty epic trip. We went out there with American Women Veterans Outdoors, and I gotta say, holding an American flag on the highest point of Russia, the highest point in Europe, was pretty amazing. It was an amazing experience and worth every bit of heartache and pain, every blister, every tear, and every drop of sweat to get there.
Well, go ahead, Toby.
So, because we're talking about this, like, in addition, so how many of you were on the trip?
Okay, there were 3 of us, 3 women veterans. One of them was a former Navy rescue swimmer. She did some work with the SEALs and with some other organizations in the Navy. She's amazing. Her name is Amanda. And then we had Naomi Schwer, who, for many reasons, she went and joined the Israeli Defense Forces. But my favorite of all those reasons is that she tried to join the U.S. Army, and they told her that she couldn't be a ranger because she was a female. So she went to Israel and joined the IDF, and she's a sniper for the Israeli Defense Forces. So it was the 3 of us on this particular trip.
In your face, America.
She's amazing. So, she is American. She is a woman, and she is veteran.
So in addition to the 3 of you and your support team on the mountain, there were a couple other people on that mountain.
Oh, yeah. They had, Russia was having some sort of military games. I think they called it their Army Games. And there's a tiny little base in Turskal, Russia, which is where we were at, which is sort of the resort mountain town below Mount Elbrus. And I guess my understanding is that the Nazis actually did go that far into Russia and were in that town. They have a memorial there for the Russian soldiers that died fighting them. And so there's a little tiny army base, a very small, what I could tell, very small military base. And while we were up on the mountain, we started to see all the foreign military teams come up. There were the Chinese and the Russians and the Iranians and the Azerbaijanis and, I mean, you name it, Moroccans, all those military teams were up there competing, and they were all climbing with full kit and their weapons Mount Elbrus as well. So didn't see any females among them, which, you know, is to be expected. But it was pretty amazing to get to the top of Mount Elbrus and be high-fiving those guys on their way down and on their way back up, or on their way back. I'm not
sorry.
the country, but we did beat a couple of them.
Yeah, so like America, we send 3 female veterans to do what you 3 countries are struggling to do. Yeah. No big deal.
No big deal. It was fun. It was really jovial and very that you could just sense the camaraderie. The Chinese were especially really happy because I believe they were the first up the mountain. They didn't win the overall Army Games. I think they got 2nd place, but their mountain team was pretty epic. Those guys were really cool, and we saw them out celebrating that night. Yeah, it was fun. It was interesting and a little surreal to you know, be looking at all those foreign militaries and celebrating with them. But it was at the end of the day, you know, it really brings home this idea that at the end of the day, we're all people and we all want the same things out of life for our families, for our brothers on our left and right. And so it was just one of those moments where I wasn't thinking about the patch on their shoulder, you know?
So what was the inspiration to attack that summit? I know you guys are doing a couple, but like, we go back and kind of talk about your background. Let's just kind of walk through how how this came to fruition, the passions behind it, how the team was assembled, because this is one of the 7 peaks. This is no big deal. 18,000 feet, 18.5, right? 18.5,
Yep.
11, or something like that.
Yep. Yeah.
I mean, this is kind of a big deal. Like, walk us through it.
So I have, when I started American Women Veterans back in 2009, one of my big goals was to have an outdoor program. And we started out with one. Outward Bound was extremely generous and gave us a lot of trips. But at the time, we were so small, and people didn't really know who we were. So it was difficult to get people to fill the trips. And so we ended up having to cut that program. And it's been, after that, as y'all know, there was a huge just whirlwind of activity. I mean, I went from blogger, Army Girl blogger, to now I was running this nonprofit organization, and it was growing like wildfire, just this grassroots movement. And we were working on all the issues on the Hill, from, the combat exclusion policy to repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, to VA healthcare, all of that stuff. So everything that I really wanted for the organization went to the wayside. And just recently, we were presented with the opportunity to co-climb Denali with a group of women veterans. And we went and trained with Alaska Mountaineering School in April. We had a really strong team of the 3 of us who decided to continue on and make this an American Women Veterans program to sort of revive the outdoor program. And I was actually at Stanford at the Veterans Ignite program in July, when my friend messaged me and said, "Hey, we're going to Russia." And I was like, "Yeah, you're crazy. I'm never going to Russia." But I thought I would, humor them and just like put in for my passport and visa and see if it all came together. And let me tell you, it was insane how much stuff, like mountains literally moved so that I could go on this trip. And the 3 of us just decided that this is what we wanted to do. Amanda actually had been planning to go do this trip, and she invited Naomi and I to go with her, and then they both decided, all 3 of us decided together, to dedicate this trip to American Women Veterans and make it the kickoff of the relaunch. So we hope to do as many of the 7 summits as possible. We want to do Denali in April or May, but that's a lot of money to raise. It's really expensive. But we wanted to see the traction we would gain and see whether or not, in our hearts, we believe this will inspire women vets to get out. We believe that, military service shouldn't be the pinnacle of your career, that you can do so much more after military service. And we want to inspire them. And if this does inspire other women vets to get out there, hell, anybody to get out there and to literally climb the highest mountains they can find, both figuratively and literally, then we're going to keep going as much as we can, however much it takes to get there.
So. You're preaching to the choir here as the director of logistics. You're preaching to the choir. As the director of operations. Veteran outdoors. I love it. Like, we got guys doing Half Dome later this year, I believe. We had some guys do Zion and Half Dome last year. We got a couple other trips, looking, and we have some hopefully some audacious plans to get some good ones in. But like y'all, as soon as I saw what you guys are doing, like, I was mind blown. That's one of the reasons I couldn't wait for you to get back to the States to really, because one, like you put together a great team, you have some great support. I saw y'all on REI. Like getting some great coverage, and like you're not taking like little hills. You're not like, oh, we're gonna do like Rainier, which is a great hill, a great climb. Got some great technical aspects, but you're like, we're just gonna hit the top 7, no big deal.
Well, Rainier at this point is a training climb. It's like a training hike.
Right.
But
like that's that's all I have in my repertoire. I'm like, well, I've done Rainier.
No, but a lot of people, what I have come to learn is that sometimes the highest mountains aren't the hardest. A lot of people have said Denali is actually the harder than, say, Everest. So I haven't done Rainier. I can't really speak to it, but I know that Elbrus was one of the easier of the 7 summits, is my understanding. Between our guide, who is 79 years old, he is a legend. This man was a legend. He's about to be 80 this November, and he was our guide. He said that Aconcagua is actually easier than Elbrus. So, I mean, it it's hard to find anyone who's done the 7 summits that can tell you. But my understanding is Rainier is a pretty good hike. So,
Well, it's no joke, but I had the pleasure of doing it while I was in the Army. I had the pleasure of it being available as a training activity. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have had the benefit of all the support that we had for the trip. And we got to start a long way up. Like we didn't have to do a lot of the work. We got a really good head start on it. But when I was in Korea, when I was stationed in Korea, my goal was to hit the top 5 on the peninsula that were eligible, like on the south, below the DMZ. But I'm just excited because we're seeing these great stories. We're seeing y'all do this. We're seeing folks doing Kilimanjaro. We had Nico and those folks getting up and doing what's that film, Higher Ground. And this is all very inspiring stuff. This is all like, pull your head out of your ass, get off the X, get out there, breathe that fresh air till it gets thin, get closer to the heavens, and then come back down and appreciate what you have, appreciate where you're at, live life, embrace life, like take it in. And one of the reasons why I'm personally so passionate about that is because I feel so many people return or transition and they lose that je ne sais quoi, that need for life, that thirst, that hunger, that excitement, they lose it, and they feel like, oh, now life is just mundane and boring, and I'm just going to grow this beard so I can act like doing something cool. Like, don't act like you go do it. Go absolutely do it. Get out there, live. And that's why programs, especially American Women's Advantage, is so crucial, because you're on the front lines of reminding people that there is what you push forward. So let's rewind a little bit and let's go back, because years ago when we met, and it's hard to believe it's been as long as it's been. You've had a pretty solid career. You've made rank. You've made rank deservingly well. Since we've known each other, you've done a pretty savage deployment to Afghanistan. Has it been 2 since I've known you?
Well, no, I did. Yeah, I started blogging in 2005 and I deployed in 2006 and 2013. So
yeah, I met you after you came back.
They were both really different, and both really stressful, so in their own way. Yeah.
No, after I met you, you'd already been back, and then you went back over. So I met you in between. But that last one was pretty savage. That was a completely different animal. Mm-hmm. And since then, you're now a Sergeant First Class, promotable. You're with the reserves now, and you're a drill sergeant candidate, which heaven help these younglings that are coming up. You're going to be facing you. I would be afraid to face you.
I can't wait.
Let's see your knife hand real fast. I bet you it's a wicked knife hand. She's
got 2 knife hands. Lady. She'll roll both knife hands at you with a stern look.
I haven't learned them yet.
Yeah,
I can't do it until after I've been through training. So yeah, I actually made the 7 list last summer, and I had done some time as a first sergeant when I was a baby E7, and I'm gonna totally put Troy on the spot here, because I know he was a first sergeant, and I think the biggest lie in the Army was how awesome it is to be a first sergeant. That was the hardest job I had ever done in my life.
It is the most awesome job. I would never trade it.
I did it as a baby E7, and it was tough.
It's probably tougher then because people don't look at you the same way. But it's amazing the respect that diamond brings. There's a natural fear of that over a star.
To be fair, I had just had the 2 rockers. So when I made the E7 list last summer, and I was offered a couple of different
you mean E8 list?
E8 list. I'm sorry. I was offered a couple different positions, and I declined them so that I could actually go be a drill sergeant, because I wanted to be in a completely different unit, and the Army won't let me reclass. So I'm in a drill sergeant unit, and hopefully go to school January through March, and then we'll see what happens. I'll be a senior drill sergeant, and then maybe someday I'll be a first sergeant. But yeah, honestly, it was a real big blow to my pride, and it was really hard to put that promotion off because I wanted to pin it. But I think this is the best job for me, and I think I'll be in the right place. With the young women, especially now, being allowed to join and do a lot more in the military, I want to try to pass on some of the things I learned the hard way, and put it maybe a little tough love in there about what the reality of being a woman in the military is. And hopefully, and the other part of it isn't just about the females. You were talking about being in the outdoors and how important that is. For me, when I came back from that second deployment, I went through some serious depression and some PTSD issues. I was very suicidal. I had a suicide plan in January of 2014. I bought a plane ticket. I had a plan. I was going to hike into the Tetons, go away for 2 weeks off the grid, and just never come back. And that was August of 2014 that I was going to do that. But the outdoors saved me. And I also happened to go to this 9-day silent meditation retreat. Shocking to anyone that knows me, because anyone that knows me knows I can't be quiet for 9 minutes, much less 9 days. But part of what I learned is that, like, shooting is meditation. Sometimes ruck marches are meditation. I mean, all that stuff that we do. I mean, we teach them how to fight, and we teach them how to kill, and we teach them how to defend, but we don't teach them how to come home. And I think that, I really do think that the present moment awareness and getting out of your head and into the present moment is one of the things we need to be engaging and also equipping our young soldiers with before they go down range, or before they do anything, before they yell at their kid, for God's sake, or for whatever happened, especially nowadays in America. I mean, look at all I leave for a few days and I come home and it's madness. I mean, I don't know what y'all did while I was gone, but I come home and people are like, have you seen the news? Riots are happening. And so
see what happens when you leave? That's what happens when Eve takes her knife hand out of the country.
Go to Russia. Yeah. No, I feel like, I'm not going to go there and have everybody sing Om Mani Padme Om or anything crazy like that. But when you're shooting, when you're paying attention to your breathing, to the air around you, to what's happening, you're looking, you're focused and you're concentrating, that's a form of meditation. And that's a form of controlling. Because if your mind is anywhere else, you're not hitting that target. If you're thinking about the bills you got to pay, or your girlfriend sleeping with Jody back home, you're not hitting that target. So that focus and concentration and that present moment awareness, that's the secret weapon we all need to have. I mean, you watch any crazy movie like Bloodsport, or even like Star Wars, The Force, or I don't know, Karate Kid. I mean, they teach them how to do all this, right? Right. I don't know if Rocky does it. I haven't seen that in a really long time, but.
Well, he runs up the stairs. He kind of meditates when he runs and runs up the stairs. So maybe
right.
That's
it. Okay, runners, people who run. I don't know why you do that, but those of you who do, there's a form of meditation that happens. You
absolutely
have to get real clear with yourself, and that's what it is about nature, and that's what I love about climbing. Is up there on that mountain, it's me against me, nothing else. And nature doesn't care about your past, doesn't care about your future. There's just nothing up there to argue with other than the thoughts going through your head in that moment. And I definitely should not have made it to the top of Elbrus. I was not ready. I had just come from sea level. Um, I hadn't had time to train because I was down with strep throat, pretty serious case of strep throat right before the trip. Um, but my guide just kept telling me, slow, slow, like slow. And he was telling me to take these half steps. I literally half stepped up Elbrus. I probably was the slowest. I was super slow, but I made it, and a lot of people didn't. So there. um, but yeah, I mean, that's why I really want to be a drill sergeant. All that to say, um, if I can make a difference to just one soldier, one cadet or whatever trainee, um, then that's hopefully one less hard lesson they have to learn. But kids are knuckleheads. You know.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, for those that don't climb and aren't aware, I mean, once you get over 10,000, Mount Elbrus at 18,000 feet, you're anyone is susceptible to HAPE or HACE, right? Anyone's susceptible to high altitude illness, and those that train their whole lives get it. Those that come right off of sea level get it. So, um, and I've, I used to climb a lot when I was in Alaska and spent a long time up there and did a lot of climbs, technical ice and stuff. And we used to talk about it all the time. Some of the guys from the Army Mountaineering School would spend years and then all of a sudden get hit with it. And there's nothing you can do to control it. There's things you can do to try to mitigate it, but you don't have it under control. So to have you come from sea level and go 18,5 is a hell of an accomplishment. Absolutely.
You definitely feel pretty loopy. We saw a lot of people fall out. We definitely had not everybody on our group. Like there were 3 guides in our group, or 3 groups with us. We had some Germans, a couple guys from Finland, or a guy and a girl. We had a Russian woman with us, and a Hungarian guy, and then there were a couple people from Luxembourg. So not everybody made it. It was really interesting. And again, like I was saying earlier, the mountain doesn't care who you are. It doesn't care about your past or your ego or your pride. And like it's just you just have to be really humble to it, and you have to be willing to accept help too, to be honest. I mean, I was super stubborn in the beginning, and my guide kept telling me to dump water because it carried 4 liters of water up the mountain. um, but you know you got to rely on your team, and you got to rely on, again, just small muscle groups. That's one thing I learned. I don't know if you guys learned that, if you experienced that, but I definitely learned if you take big steps, then you're using big muscle groups, and that burns up a lot more energy.
Yeah, yeah. You almost didn't make it. So, and part of that was the immigration or border patrol, and a visa not being done up right. For any of those that are looking to travel international, what tips do you have them about going to a country like Russia and not making sure all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed?
Yeah, that was just part of this entire thing. You have to get an invitation from a company in Russia, so you want to make sure that you find a reputable. So we went with a guide company, and that guide company knew the ropes and sent us some information. So we had to put in a visa letter. I made the mistake of requesting my visa letter for the dates that they were actually with the guide company, not including travel dates, which was a mistake. Don't ever do that. If it, give yourself a day or two on the front and back end, because what ended up happening was I left on the 3rd, and I was supposed to arrive on the 4th, but I actually arrived a couple hours before the 5th. So the last couple hours of the night of the 4th. So they literally pulled me at JFK. They pulled me out of the gate and sent me back to the front counter and said, sorry, your ticket's not good because you can't arrive because your visa says the 5th. So I didn't bring my military ID with me because I'm going to Russia. So I had to like sleep outside of the USO. And then when the USO opened that morning at JFK, I begged the guy, show him my dog tags, told him he could call my first sergeant, and asked if I could use the USO. And he did actually let me in. But I ended up paying an extra $300 to have my flight to Russia changed so that I arrived on the 5th. And the same issue happened on the way back. Like I had to, my flight from Mineral Novody, which is where the airport closest to Elbrus, went to Moscow. But my Moscow flight, I didn't leave the country until the 13th. So I had to go through all kinds of crazy hoops, and I had to literally stay at my gate that night until my flight left the next morning. Otherwise, if I had left, I would have been detained by Russian authorities. So, yeah, I mean, I jumped through some crazy hoops to get that visa and I had to get a new passport too. The other thing they don't tell you, your passport has to be good for 6 months from the date you return. So it's a lot. It's a lot. You guys want to go to Russia? Call me first. I'll give you some pointers.
But we talked a lot about this whole adventure, and we've been going through.
Yeah,
we talked
one of the things
a
that
little bit about your military service. But Eve, you've done a lot as an inspiration, not only to females and not only to veterans, but to anyone that has served and or just people in general that haven't served. I mean, you've started American Women's Veterans. You've been out and you just upped and moved out west, kind of repicked up and started a whole new career and life out there. You were just down in Stanford at the business school, I think, working down there. I mean, you have shown you have no fear of change. Number one, and number two. You definitely have this selfless service mindset, all while still serving in the military, of just continuing to find ways to apply yourself, demonstrate tenacity, and keep giving back. What drives you in that? What drives you to say, oh, here's another new challenge, I'm just going to keep going on, when you look back at your past and you've done so much already?
I think a lot of it, honestly, comes from having grown up as an Army brat. I mean, I was born at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, or Tennessee. The hospital's on the Tennessee side. And I grew up around military bases. I mean, I've lived at Fort Hood. My sister was born at Fort Gordon. I grew up in South Korea, went to high school at Seoul American High School, go Falcons. And I think I almost need change. And I'm always in a process of trying to better myself. And it's interesting that I'm humbled that you say that I still do, like I still serve, because I feel like moving out west was really selfish. I really did it for me and for my sanity, because I wasn't in a good spot. I really wasn't. And I just knew that I needed to be away from people. I needed to get away from DC before I sort of imploded. And I needed to be in a place that felt safe and was beautiful. And that's where I'm at. I mean, I was only supposed to come here for a year, and I've actually decided to stay here. But like the Stanford thing too, I mean, it was kind of all about me. I applied for it, and I was nominated. My mentors wrote referrals for me to get accepted, and I went to that, and it really felt like the first time. I'm gonna get emotional, but those two things really felt like the first time I'd really done something for me, because so much of what I have done is then about prioritizing the nonprofit in the organization. But I recognize there might be some secondary, tertiary impacts that come from that. Like I'm definitely going to try to get as many women veterans to apply for the Stanford Ignite program next year, and to many more programs like it. I think a lot of veterans don't know that it's available out there, and it's a phenomenal program. I mean, they mix all of us. You don't have to have a bachelor's degree to get accepted to that program. And what it is it's called Stanford Ignite, the post 9/11 veterans program. They have it all over the world, the Stanford Ignite program. And it's a entrepreneurial and innovation sort of master's certificate course. And it's an intensive, it's very intensive, but it's, we're used to that op tempo and that pace when we deploy. So it was amazing. It was so cool to be back with 36 veterans who all are, type A, high speed, low drag type people, and to be working together on different projects, and to be able to take everything that we learned and bring it into the world, and start our own businesses or our own nonprofit. So honestly, I think what just drives me is I just feel like I have to always have a purpose in life. And without some kind of purpose, I feel really lost. I mean, that's when I feel like I'm at my worst. Those are the really low points. And if I don't have one, if one's not given to me, if I'm not given a mission like in the military, then I need to go find something. And I think finding that, and not just professionally, you have to have one personally too. Like you have to have something that drives you personally. Like family. A lot of people have families. I don't. But for me, building my family here in this community, my community here is really important to me, and that's personally what keeps me motivated. So I don't know
Well,
if that
you
answers
do
your
have
question.
family. We're scattered all over. And we wear green. That's why I'm that annoying brother that always sends you pictures of great Korean food just to tease you.
You always tease me when you have Korean food. It's not fair.
But the last time I saw you, and my wife and I are, we just love you to death. And when you lived in D.C., we would always try to link up and see you. In fact, I think one of the last times I saw you, it was you and I and Christine at the Army Ball, and it's still one of my favorite pictures because I am there decked to the nines, but mostly not because of what I was wearing on my uniform, but because I had two beautiful women on both arms, and I was
Pretty amazing. She's
yes.
pretty awesome.
I don't know why you went with a Marine, but I was definitely the luckiest guy in there that night when I was getting that
I
picture
always
made.
take Marines to the Army Ball. It was like my joke. But they always my Marine buddies always take me to the Marine Corps Ball, so it's fun.
There you go. Yeah, so it was great seeing you then. We knew you moved out west for a reason. We knew it was some kind of. We knew it was a personal mission of some type. It was probably just to get away from the hubbub of DC and everything going on there. And it's even though you've explained tonight, you went out there and you may have had a reason that wasn't the best, or you got motivated to do something different when you're out there. But I'm glad, and I'm so glad that you went out and found the inspiration. Not to remove yourself from the rest of us, and I can't. I mean, that just blew me away when you said that a little bit ago, and I can't express how glad I am you are still here and you are continuing to give back and influence so many folks.
Thanks. Yeah, if there's anything I want people to know, like my biggest thing for people to know is, I never dreamed that I would ever be happy again. I really didn't think it was possible. I was in so much pain. And for me, I only felt like there was one way out. And I had tried. I felt like I tried everything. I mean, you guys know I have access to every resource you can think of out there, just by virtue of what I've done with the nonprofit and being active in the veteran space for so long. But I was at the bottom of that hole, and I just didn't see. I saw the light, but I just didn't have the energy to even move toward it. I was so exhausted, and I was so tired, and I was in so much emotional pain, and I really resented anybody who tried to tell me to get over it. It just wasn't happening. But it's interesting that in the last couple years, I've found just an insane amount of personal happiness, and to have. I often sometimes pinch myself just when I go to dinner with friends sometimes I pinch myself because I feel so fortunate to have the community that I do here in Sun Valley, Ketchum, Idaho, and to have the friends that I have surrounding me. And it's a crazy hard thing to explain, but I think what I want people to know, if anyone is out there who is thinking about it or who's hurting, I never dreamed in a million years I would ever be happy again. And I am right now here to tell you that I'm happier than I've ever been. So, get help. I don't know. There's no one size fits all solution, right? Like everybody wants the cure, and there is no cure. You just have to keep trying until you find something that works for you. And for me, it was nature. For me, it was meditation and mindfulness. And then I also studied all the ancient spiritual studies, because I feel like, you guys know this, we've been fighting each other since mankind evolved, right? Like, we're not the first people to go through this stuff. And so I know that there are people who left teachings and literature and stuff out there to help us to navigate through some of this stuff. And in our culture in America, we are, there's a very small percentage of us that understand at all what we're going through. And I think the more isolated we are and the more isolated we feel because there's so few of us going through it, the harder it is on us. We think we're so alone when we're really not. There's generations upon generations of humans that have gone through this, and we have each other, right? So I don't know.
That's why I say you have family all over the place.
Eve, I can't help but want to identify the symbolism of the things that we're talking about right here, and I want to kind of talk about summiting and one of the reasons I want to talk about it is, the parallels to our lives, right? Out there and you're focused, and you have this goal, and you get up there, and that's a huge accomplishment, huge moment. You still have to come off that hill. You still have to continue. Like you don't just like ascend and that's it. Like meet enlightenment. Like no, like you got to come back down, and sometimes the trip down is especially for dudes like us with sometimes worse. And the symbolism of our lives is so much like that, where we accomplish these things. You especially, you've accomplished just some tremendous things, and then life has this anticlimactic moment afterwards, but you have to keep going. And like the call of the wild, like is like you said. I mean, that's a big part of it, because you can get out there, you can experience this, but it doesn't stop because you want it to, or it doesn't stop because you accomplish something. It still continues, and you have to drive on. And you're talking about like the trip, that you had planned to Tetons, and like how you went out in the wilderness. You really like, man, it's the symbolism of what you're doing right now with these summits. I just find it extremely beautiful, but I also find it like so comforting and reassuring to know that like that there's cause to continue. And even though you accomplish something, there's cause to strive on. You got to get back down off that hill. Just because you met that height doesn't mean you can retain it. You can't stay on those highs. The oxygen doesn't permit. You got to come back down.
Right.
And I'm just, that's a long-winded way of saying like there's some really beautiful, Mother Nature, the earth, God's creation is just spectacular in some ways, and the lessons that it can teach us and the ways that it can humble us. And I know you're very passionate about the environment. I know Anwar is a really big part of your passion set. I know you to kind of more about it and explore that in your life and what it means to you in terms of where your passions lie. Impressed by what you're doing. Like you are definitely like you are forward in the foxhole. That's for sure.
Thank you. That means a lot coming from you.
Yeah, and so glad, Eve, you've been able to come on, and we've been trying to get you on for a while, of course. I know you always canceled on us. You're always too busy for us.
Thanks, brother.
Don't even start that with me.
Always too busy. Well, listen, we've been talking about tonight. We've been going on. I could see why you've been too busy for us. But it's just so glad to have you on, and I mean the comments we're seeing are great, and coming in the chats.
They're nice comments. That's good.
They're nice comments. Yes, we only have nice fans.
You guys should read my hate mail. It's crazy.
Why would you get hate mail? My Lord.
Oh, I used to get. This is one of the. I mean, there are many reasons I hate doing interviews, but I used to, whenever there was like an article published or something about, like especially the Don't Ask, Don't Tell repeal, I got a lot of hate mail for that. But, I mean, it is what it is.
Yep, that's right. I've never seen you to be one that cares about. That's why you're going to make a good first round one day. You're not here for a popularity contest, right? So let's talk a little bit about American Women's Veterans, and that I'd like you to give our viewers a little bit about that, what it does, where they can find out more, and how they can be part of it, help out, and if they know other women veterans that maybe could use it as a resource.
Yeah, so, if I can, I'd like to talk about kind of what we're doing, because if you go to our website, which is www.americanwomenveterans.org, it's a little dated. It's the website we had when we first started, and I love it a lot, but we're in the process right now of working with a really incredible PR firm to redo our website and change a lot of things. So we're combining our gear store, because we started in 2015 a gear store. awvgear.com is where we sell T-shirts and stickers and stuff like that to help us raise money. All that money comes right back into American Women Veterans, to the nonprofit. The goal behind the store is eventually to make enough money in the store that it runs our headquarters and operations, so that 100% of our donations goes directly to veterans programming. That's the big dream, and we're working towards that. But it's a long learning curve on doing retail and stuff like that, which we've been learning the hard way for a couple of years, but it's coming along really well. And this November, we're launching into chapters. So we're working on building chapters across the country and becoming a member based organization. What I learned by leaving DC and coming to a small community is that, a lot of civilians don't understand the camaraderie that we have in the military, but they do understand community. And when we are the driving force behind building community at home, then we show them a little bit of our world and what it's like to experience the camaraderie that we have. And so we have this phenomenal team here in Sun Valley, Idaho, of women who are not veterans, but they're extremely passionate and dedicated to the cause. And they're helping us work on this relaunch. So the relaunch includes the development of the AWV Leaders Program. And what that will be is a group of leaders that we'll bring to Sun Valley and do really cool, awesome outdoor things. That's what you saw the REI. We got a grant from REI's Force of Nature to help with this, to launch this program. But we're bringing 10 women veterans, actually 12. And then there's a Major General Deanne Williams, McWilliams is coming too, are coming to Sun Valley to basically go through a leadership development course. So they're going to focus on three major core concepts. First is sort of self care and what that means. A lot of times women have a difficult time taking care of themselves first. Veterans also have this issue. So we're going to focus on how to do that correctly. And then we're going to focus on peer to peer support and communications, how not to get in someone else's business, but to help them find the resources they need. Because another issue that I've seen is drowning people trying to save drowning people. That doesn't always work. And what we want to do is help veterans in the best way that we can, which is pointing them towards the resources that are out there. There are like 40,000 nonprofits out there for veterans right now. So it's not a lack of resources. It's a matter of people not knowing what they are. So we want our American Women Veterans chapters to know what local and state resources are, also to do local and state advocacy. And then the last part of that summit is going to be the chapter development. So the women that are coming out here are going to have their own goals and basically create a chapter development plan for what works in their community. I mean, what works in DC isn't going to work in Lubbock, Texas, right? So, and we're going to just work together throughout the year to get these chapters going and try to do this every year. And main driving force behind that, again, is building community, supporting not just women veterans, but all veterans, males too, in the community, and building a sense, working with the community to build a sense of community. So, for the last like 8 years, AWV has been a lot of top-down advocacy. It's been like we've been at, the national level on the Hill and working with Congress and the Pentagon on policies and things that impact veterans. But when you see those things trickle down to to boots on the ground, they're ineffective. They end up as too many briefings, mandatory briefings, right? Like it just becomes ridiculous. And so when I deployed in 2013 and came home and saw the impact of what we had fought for, all the suicide briefings, all the Department of Labor briefings, and saw how completely and utterly ineffective they were, I realized that it was actually a wake up call for me personally. I realized that we had been doing it wrong, and we need to be doing it from the community up, like local focus. Um, and so we're gonna and honestly, what I'm hoping this does is it starts like a movement around the country, and it forces these American Legions and these VFW posts to start, like, really lights a fire under them and gets them to start doing some similar things, because they are already out there. I mean, they already have the networks and the infrastructure. We're trying to build it from scratch. But yeah, I mean, that's where we're going, and that's what we hope to happen. We have the outdoor program that just relaunched. We've talked a lot about that, and we're working with some other organizations like Chicks with Picks and a couple others that do like, women's empowerment or like, with women skiing or women, climbing. And we want to have some workshops around the country, getting women veterans active and involved. And also another thing that I think is really important to note on that too, and I don't know how your program works, Toby, but a lot of veterans think that because they're hurt, they can't go do. But I,
Okay, I
yeah,
thought Toby's in a fight with a dog for a second.
I thought so too. Thought my dogs were gonna go off. But
I heard.
we all come back from the military with a lot of us come back with either hurt knees, bad hips, bad shoulders. I know so many people with bad backs. I mean, you can still do this stuff. You can still get out there and like if you I cannot go through this whole interview without bringing up Kirstie Ennis. I mean, Kirstie Ennis is an amputee, above the knee amputee. She was up there training when we were training for Denali. She was up there with us and she just climbed some crazy mountain down in South America, I think, and she did Kilimanjaro. I mean, that woman doesn't have. She not only is missing like her foot joint, she's missing her knee. I mean, above the knee amputee is a seriously different ball game. I had no idea, and so it isn't. A lot of people think that just because they're something's not working right like it used to, that they can't get out there and do this stuff anymore. And that's just BS. I mean, you can't, there's no excuses. There are so many adaptive programs out there to get veterans outdoors. I mean, climbing, doing whatever, and that's what being part of a team is about. So anyway, that's what we're trying to do with American Women Veterans. And we have a lot going on. And I think, um, you know, we are not funded. So we've never raised more than $50,000 in a year. We hope to change that soon. It's getting to the point where we have to. I wanted to build an organization that was run 100% by volunteers, and for years people have told me that wasn't sustainable. I mean, we're still around, we're still here today, but in order to really scale and in order to really do this right, I think we're going to have to start doing that. So you'll see some fundraisers and stuff like that out there. But yeah, we're got a lot going on, growing really, really fast. It's a little unnerving, to be honest.
So I got to tell you, like, Veteran Outdoors would love to partner with American Women Veteran Outdoors on something, just because in fact, I sent you a message earlier today. We had an opportunity. Had some people drop off. We do a show, and I know you have folks, but the that got filled. But we're always uh, look to groups that have shared values, and any organization and want to be at a certain level. I went from Soldiers Angels to Veteran Outdoors, and Veteran Outdoors has been a passion of mine. From running one of the largest nonprofits in the nation to running an all volunteer one, it completely different. I understand the difference in the dollar and the difference in the donor impact that it makes, and completely different. Plus, it's a different feel. Like we're not we type organization. We want to challenge you to do more organization, and so like we want to partner with you all on something. We'll figure it out, because I know that we can. I know that there's some great stuff for us to do, but I got to tell you, we are super grateful that you decided that your 8-year hiatus was going to end with us. We hope we've been good to you. It looks like the comments in the chat have been fantastic. Lots of thumbs up and hearts and stuff. People just really excited about what y'all are doing. Again, like I told you this, and I guess it was 2008 or 9 when we first started hanging out, that you're a scary, impressive lady. Like and you're not in a bad. You challenge to push themselves. You challenge us. One of our mutual friends, Matt Burden. Matty told me, he's like, hey, you gotta watch this. You gotta watch this girl, because she's gonna put you on your butt and make you reevaluate how hard do you want to go? And absolutely accurate assessment. And I'm glad Maddie
says anyway.
Well,
hi Maddie. Hi Jimbo.
I have reason to believe things because I've borne witness to you meant good, just like you've probably borne witness. But you're in people like when you look back, and I know you said you made the comment earlier, you don't have a ton of family, but man, I hope you reevaluate that. When you look at the people that have your back, you have some like amazingly hard hitting, big hearted, loving people behind you. That hasn't changed, nor will it. So you're always welcome here. Always happy to have you on the show. We want to have you back. We want to have some of your fuck as well if you're unavailable, because we love what you're doing. We love what you've done, what you've accomplished. You're a big part of some of the changes that have happened in the landscape of the American female in the military. And I hope you know that we recognize that you've made that impact, that you're part of that changing landscape. And we're here to celebrate it. We're here to support it. So, please come back. We're running a few minutes late, but we're just life, especially coming back from that, just to hang out with us.
Thank you guys for having me. This was a lot of fun.
See, we're not that scary.
No, not at all. If you'd have just given us a time before and come on a show, that's all.
Whatever.
But
I'll with you later.
Yeah, I'll hear all about that one. But all right, well, yeah. Again, thank you, Eve, so much for giving us some of your Tuesday evening and coming on, especially right after coming back. And we are excited to continue following your journey. And as Toby said, always welcome back on. And I think you've earned quite a few more fans tonight on the show. Looks like.
By the way, I'm gonna call Matt Burden out. You gotta organize the reunion, buddy. I think I'm nominating him to organize a reunion. What do you guys think?
I think that's
he
does.
Idea.
Yes.
He needs to get the band back together.
Yes. He organized a great one in Vegas once. I don't know if it needs to be at that level, but I think it.
Vegas would be bad. I'd be having to babysit all of you. That wouldn't be very fun for me.
Yep, that's probably.
Maybe.
that could definitely be possible there.
We could do DC, but not in DC.
Oh,
yeah.
San Antonio was fun.
Yeah, San Antonio was fun.
That's convenient. I know where everyone can stay.
Yeah, that's a good one for you. But
we're all gonna be camped out in your backyard, Toby.
Hey, I got tents.
He does. And your dogs would love that, Toby. They would love all the.
They're out there now. That's why I had to get up. But hey,
have a good night. Thank you so much.
Absolutely honored.
Yep. Thank you, Eve. Good to see you. Bye-bye. All right,
folks. Once again, you've been listening to Sergeant First Class Genevieve Chase, the founder of American Women's Veterans. She's also been inducted into the Army's Women Foundation's Hall of Fame. Super impressive woman, just returning from Elvis, where she summited there, which is one of the 7th largest peaks in the world. A fantastic accomplishment with 3 other female veterans. So please take the time to go check out American Women Veterans, an amazing organization doing great things nationwide. Action plans and ways to support.
Yep, absolutely. Well, I was instantly trying to fix video there as we cut off, but no. Hey, it was a great show. Eve has been a longtime friend of ours, as we talked about, and as Toby said, check it out. Man, you can just Google her name. She has definitely accomplished a lot. That's why it just amazes me. That girl she's like the little train that never stops. She just keeps going and going and going. She doesn't know the word stop.
For sure.
But yeah. So
tune in next week. We got another great show lined up for you Tuesday night. Same bat channel, same bat time. Or you can just download us and listen to us on the Spreaker app. But as always, we'll be broadcasting live on Facebook, Twitch, Periscope on the Twitter, as well as YouTube.
That's right.
Check us out. Thanks if you're on Facebook, make sure you like the page. You know, we're still having more people watching our video on Facebook than liking our page, which is crazy.
Makes no sense. Doesn't make sense.
Of all the Periscope and all the, you know, when I was meeting with a sponsor the other day and I was showing them the numbers, they were like, "Man, these are ridiculous view numbers." And then they're like, "What's up with these Facebook likes?" I'm like, "I don't know. You should ask the people watching us." So I'm asking you, like our page.
That's it.
But other than that, that's all I got. I'm ready to see everyone next week.
That's right. Everyone, you have a good night, and we will see you all next week. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Stu and the Nunn Radio. We hope you enjoyed your time with us because we have enjoyed sharing our time with you. Be sure to check out stewandthenunn.com in addition to asking us questions and interacting with us on our Facebook page and Twitter. We look forward to seeing you next Tuesday.